Witchbrook, the spellbinding life simulation game, is set to release sometime this year as one of the most anticipated upcoming cozy titles. While we're all patiently waiting with excitement and anticipation, the team has actually shared some new details about what we can expect when the release date finally arrives. Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, and welcome back to Thinking Out Loud. In today's episode, I'll be sharing my thoughts on a series of official questions and answers from Witchbrook, revealing tons of new details about this magical cozy game. Please go ahead and shine the lovely like button if you're excited for Witchbrook to let me know, and make sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on to stay in the loop. Otherwise, without any further ado, let's get right into it. So first up, we have a few questions related to the in-game time system and seasons. So the first question is, will Witchbrook have months of the year? The team confirmed that it's going to be structured in a month per season system, which is very similar to what we kind of come to expect in many life and farm simulation games. So we can likely expect a spring, summer, autumn, and winter, especially with the fact that we're going to be going through multiple years of our studies at Witchbrook College. It makes sense that the months and the year would need to go by a little bit faster than having like a full calendar year. The next question asks if the days and nights are in sync with our actual time zone or if there is in-game time. So in the same vein as the previous question, the team responded by saying that day and night cycles reflect in-game time, so not real world. They elaborated that they want Witchbrook to feel relaxing, and while Mossport does run on a schedule, you will have the flexibility to tackle that the way you'd like. So for example, you can actually stay up way past your bedtime when the clock changes to late, but this may have some repercussions the next day. I am really curious to see if they put a bit of a spin on the staying up too late system that we come to expect in similar games. I actually think the more I play lots of cozy games, I like having a bit more flexibility to stay up later. I feel like there's so many cool things that can happen in the world at night, and there's like a different vibe, you know, when you're kind of up late, maybe working on your studies, brewing potions. I feel like that could have a really nice feel to it. So it'll be interesting to see if it's just what we might expect of like, oh, you're kind of low on stamina today because you stayed up too late. If it's that kind of a system, maybe something like a little bit more interesting or unique would be nice to see. Now, the next question asks if there will be an option to adjust the length of in-game days with a slider. And they responded by saying no, they don't have a slider because their goal is to actually alleviate the time pressure and need for efficiency that you might experience in other games. So while there is an overarching aim that you're following on the road to graduation and many quests that will keep you busy, how you spend your time is up to you. So they found that some players naturally veer towards the min-max approach to their day, so essentially trying to maximize your actions and make the most of your time, but other players will enjoy a more laid-back experience, role-playing that city life. So they want the player to have the freedom to choose what suits them, reiterating again here, even staying up way past your bedtime. That being said, if you do want time to go faster, you can always go to bed earlier. So it does seem like going to bed will end your day. This response definitely makes me really curious because I feel like usually in games, when I have the option for a slider to adjust how long or short the days are, that's actually usually when I feel like I have more flexibility and I'm able to relax because then I don't feel so rushed. So the fact that they're stating they did not put a slider in the game purposely to alleviate the time pressure makes me feel like the days might actually be a bit more on the longer side. At least that's kind of my hope. I personally find that games that have really short days and no option to adjust that just go by too fast for me, and it starts to feel less cozy and more stressful, I guess. Like I start to panic, I start to feel rushed, like I'm not getting enough done in the day, the days are passing, the season's passing. Like it's easy to get into that bit of a spiral when the days just go by so fast. And so I hope that that means they've kind of settled on a nice timing for each day so that we can really explore freely and focus our attention wherever we'd like to in any given moment, whether that be on classes or exploring the world outside of the school, socializing, decorating our home, things like that. I hope that it's all well balanced so we can have that relaxing experience and we're not suddenly like, oh my gosh, it's been an entire year and I've just been roaming around, decorating, like enjoying the little moments, and suddenly a whole whole year in-game has gone by. So what they're saying sounds promising. I just think it's interesting, but only time will tell on what the gameplay experience will ultimately be. So next we have some questions addressing topics of the school itself and attending classes. So the first one here being, will the game use a system of schools of magic or something adjacent which you can learn? The team responded by saying that the professors at Witchbrook College all specialize in different types of magic, which after you've mastered in class, you can then wield in your day-to-day life. There's also different avenues of magic in Witchbrook, with arcane arts and alchemy being amongst them. And they've only shown a few so far, but there will be plenty of magical applications to better the city and residents of Mossport. So it does seem like we're going to be learning different disciplines of magic in our studies and then applying those to our day-to-day life. This is a constant theme that they've reiterated and shared details about over, the course of the past year. And one of my favorite things about the game is that not only are we going to learn these magical skills, but we're actually going to be able to apply them out in the city to help the local residents, maybe to help our friends, our coven mates. So I love that idea, and I can't wait to get my hands on the actual gameplay system and experience the variety that hopefully will be there for us to enjoy. The next question asks if you can skip classes. And the answer to this is that classes are required for progression, but it's more of a college situation than a school one. So you're going to be choosing the pace and your attendance. To kind of build on this question, another question asks if there will be a punishment system for skipping classes or not fulfilling quests. And the team responded that there's no punishment system in Witchbrook. You're a grown-up and a college student in the game, so they wanted it to feel less like skipping school and more that it's just going to affect your overall grade if you don't pay attention to your studies. Now, since there's actually no punishment system, I do wonder what the consequences then would be of having an affected grade. If you have a lower grade, maybe you're not yet able to unlock certain new abilities or certain new spells, for example, or new potions, almost like a skill tree kind of system. But if they didn't want that experience to be punishing, then to me that would mean you would get another chance. You would be able to continue taking those classes at, say, the end of the year and level up those disciplines to then further unlock things. I think there'd have to be something somewhat to that effect in the game, because if it didn't really matter how good your grade was or, what you learned, then there would be very little motivation to actually go to the classes. And I imagine the classes are where we're going to learn all of the skills that we'll need to take on the odd jobs and fulfill quests. So that's my interpretation of the answer of this. But of course, we'll have to wait and see on a lot of these, how it actually feels once we get into the gameplay and we see how all of these systems actually work. But it is nice to know that there isn't going to be that pressure of like, oh my gosh, it's Monday morning at 8 a.m. I gotta rush to class. If I miss this class, I'm gonna fail and be punished or have some kind of consequence. It's not really gonna be like that. It seems like maybe you have a bit of flexibility with when you actually go to your classes. So if you have other tasks that you're working on outside of the school or even related to your studies, but maybe for a different class or for maybe your social life, maybe you can find a way to make some sacrifices and pick when you go to class and when you choose not to. The next question asks if there will be any breaks from school. So there's no big holiday breaks, but you do actually get the weekends off. So that's pretty cool. I imagine there wouldn't be holiday breaks, if there's only the 4 months for the year, the 4 seasons. That doesn't leave a lot of room for any kind of big vacation. But having the weekends off is great because I feel like then you could spend those 2 days really exploring the town and the map and feeling a little bit more free with that part of your exploration compared with the weekdays when you might be balancing that a little bit more with your classes. So I think that's awesome to hear. Now we have a couple questions about covens and NPCs. So first of all, the first question is just, what is a coven in Witchbrook? And the team's response to this is that covens in Witchbrook are sort of similar to a homeroom in school. So you'll study for classes together, you'll explore their individual storylines, and confirmation that everyone in your coven is romanceable. The next question asks if you and your coven can compete in academics and activities. And the answer to this is yes, you can. There will be lots of opportunities to compete with other characters in Mossport for more than just bragging rights. This could honestly mean anything. This could be related to our academics. This could be, maybe little competitions, little mini games at festivals or events. This could be in the form of organized extracurricular activities or clubs, which in the next question that asked if there's any out-of-school or in-school clubs, the team did actually say there are plenty of out-of-school activities, and a number of those do involve clubs, and they hope to share more on this soon. So that could be one of the ways where we see this friendly competition come into play. I do like the answer that you could win more than just bragging rights, because if you know me, you know I love exclusive little prizes. I love being rewarded for accomplishing things in games with things that are not easily obtained otherwise. I don't want to work so hard to win a mini game or competition and then get like 5 potatoes or a sprig of lavender. Like, I want an exclusive cape or like a broom customization or, you know, a little hair bow. Like, I want something like that, maybe a little decoration to put in my home, or just something I couldn't have even thought of myself. That's super cool. So that's what I'm looking for when there's little mini games, competitions, quests that are a bit more, you know, exclusive or involved than the rest. The next question asks if each of the important NPCs, so non-playable characters in the game, will have their own plots and stories. So the team shared that for them, they wanted to make Witchbrook a bit of a canvas for telling individual stories, and you will experience that at its strongest with your Coven members, who each have their own separate story arc. So I absolutely love to hear this. I personally really love it when the characters that surround me in a game world feel full of life, feel like they're distinct personalities, have stuff going on in their own world, have backstories, have their daily routines and such. So I love hearing that each of the Coven members, also, you know, each of the romanceable characters, will have their own separate story arc that will presumably slowly uncover the more we get to know them over time. Now, we have a few questions about the world outside of the school itself. The first being, is there a cinema or a theater in the city? So I'm particularly interested in the answer to this question because, while they did say no, there's not going to be a movie theater at the game's launch, they did say, who knows what we might add post-launch. They further shared that they are actually planning to do lots of post-release content as long as it's viable. And this is something I definitely wanted to chat with you guys about because this gets me really excited. I kind of somewhat thought that Witchbrook was going to be more of one of those games that just releases, full release, as is, it's done, you enjoy it as long as you'd like. I wasn't really expecting post-release content for Witchbrook. The idea of that gets me very excited. Now, of course, keep in mind, they will only be able to do that as long as the game is supported. I think the game is going to be well supported. I think this is up there with some of the most anticipated cozy game releases on the horizon. So I feel like there's a good chance that that will be possible. So I just wanted to share that little tidbit with you guys that is in their plans, and I'm very excited to hear this. The next question asks if there will be a furniture shop. Now, the answer for this, we have to read between the lines a little bit, but they said that there is furniture and decorations available all around Mossport, but we'll talk about this later. So they might be doing like a bit of a showcase on this system, the decorating and furniture system in the future. So maybe we'll have that to look forward to in a future developer blog, for example. I think if there was just a furniture shop, they probably would have just said yes. And they did word that there's furniture and decorations available all around Mossport. So that leads me to believe that there could be multiple ways of acquiring furniture, whether that be through like looting in like treasure chests, maybe something to do with magic. Maybe there's a way we can learn how to like craft furniture, but it's through some kind of magical system. Maybe it's often given as quest rewards. Maybe there's a trading system. I think there most likely would be some kind of a shop for furniture and decor in addition to all these other things, but who knows, honestly. I'm definitely even more curious now to figure out how that's gonna work. Then someone asks if anything can be shared about the forest, which is honestly so fair because when they first revealed the map of Witchbrook, so the city of Mossport, the college itself, all the surrounding areas, there was a huge portion of that map that was the forest, and all we could really see there for the most part were trees. And it just looks so mysterious, like there's gotta be something going on there. But the answer here is just that they're excited to talk more about the forest and how it integrates with the city of Mossport at a later date. So nothing for us to learn yet about the forest. To be honest, I don't really want to know like too much because I think That could be something that's really exciting to uncover as you actually play the game. I'm all for like speculating, getting these little details, getting little tidbits of information, eating it up. Like I'm here for it. I'm so excited for Witchbrook. At the same time, I want to balance that with having lots to discover still for the first time when we play the game, when it releases. And I think the team's been doing a fantastic job at balancing, sharing more information about what to expect, and then also keeping secrets so that we can experience a lot of those things for ourselves in the game. I wouldn't mind knowing like a few little things about the forest though, let's be real. But yeah, I kind of like it being mysterious too. Now we have a couple of questions about forageables. Now the first one is just, are there going to be forageables in the game? So the answer is yes, you can forage in Witchbrook. And it's actually integral to the knowledge system in-game. So different recipes for food, potions, salves, and more require different ingredients, some of which are only available at certain times of the year. And some forageables are actually of the magical variety, and some are more practical. Some will be easy to find, and others will take a little more effort. And you're not just set to forage in one location. Different types of forageables will pop up in various locations all around Mossport. I'm really curious to know if the process of actually collecting the forageables once you find them will be as simple as just picking them up, or if because there's this magical spin on the game at large, if there might perhaps be a different way you would go about collecting certain forageables that might involve magical powers. The next question regarding forageables asks if there will be gameplay around keeping forageables fresh and usable throughout the year, so things like drying and canning or pickling. The team responded that they are a big fan of processing and preserving fresh forageables, especially because they make for great decoration. They went on to say that many of the items in-game can be turned into lovely-looking produce, which can be sold at the Sunday market, or may be required as an ingredient for a recipe. And all of that produce is placeable in your home, giving it that maximalist witch cottage look. So for example, when roses are dried on the herb drying rack, they transform into a beautiful bundle of dried roses tied with a ribbon, which you can hang on your wall. But what's more is that you're not specifically crafting the roses into a furniture item, because anytime you like, you can actually take it off the wall and use it to make tea. So this alone sounds really promising. I really like this idea of being able to transform things that you collect into something that has multiple purposes. So again, either being sold at the Sunday market or being used in your studies, maybe to brew a potion, or, used as a decoration. But, unlike other games where a lot of the times you might craft an item into a piece of actual furniture that you can't get back, it seems like here they have a system where you can grab it back off the wall and then use it to make tea or something similar. So I absolutely love the sound of this. The next question asks, how exactly will we use the broom? And the team responded by saying that you will actually be able to summon the broom to your location, and that flying will be completely manual, so you will have control over the flying itself. The next question asks if there will be any kind of combat. The team shared that there will be no combat at launch. However, the design team does have some ideas of a novel kind of witchy combat that could potentially make it into a post-release update. I'm honestly cool with either decision they make. I'm perfectly happy to have no combat in the game. I don't think every cozy game needs combat. Sometimes I think it actually probably shouldn't have combat, depending on how it's implemented. Sometimes it feels a little bit forced into a game. I think if there's a really neat system that they have an idea for, especially if it has that magical witchy kind of spin, I would love to see that. I personally love combat, whether it be in a cozy game or otherwise. But every single time, it always just comes down to, is the system good? Is it fun? Is it optional? Like, there's so many questions, depending on those answers, determine for me if it's a good fit in a cozy game or not, and if I even want to engage with it in any game. So yeah, would love to see what they have in mind, but I'm totally happy if they just stick with no combat. So now we have some questions on topics that are a little bit more practical. The first one relates to multiplayer. Just wondering how player progress will actually be shared in multiplayer. So apparently each player has their own progress through their studies, while some world progress is shared. So what it sounds like based off of this little bit of information is that you're going to be taking on the experience of Witchbrook together in like a co-op save file, and you'll be doing your studies separately, but then there'll be the overarching like main quests and world progress that'll be shared. I was kind of hoping there would be a way to drop in and out for multiplayer. So like I would be able to visit your school or your home even, and you would be able to visit mine, but you wouldn't necessarily need to commit to a shared save file. But it doesn't really sound like that's going to be the case unless it is a drop-in, drop-out system, kind of like Luma Island. So in Luma Island, you have your own profession paths that you progress through, maybe similar to the studies, and then you do work together on the world progress, but you aren't bound to doing this with the exact same people every single time. So if you have like maybe a big friend group, or if you have a community you play with, or maybe you just want to have more flexibility with committing to a save file with someone, it's really nice because then you can progress the save file on your own. You can have just one person drop in, you can have new people come and go into the save, and you can all kind of work together. You retain your own individual progress with your professions in Luma Island, but then other players can work on the world progress, whether or not, all people are present. So there is more flexibility with a system like that. I don't know if that's their plans or if it's going to be very much bound to whoever starts the game together. You're kind of committing to that save from beginning to end. We'll have to wait and see on that. The next question asked if there would be Korean language support. However, the answer applies to any unconfirmed or unannounced language. So the team said that Witchbrook will be available in English, French, German, Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, Japanese, simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese. But they shared that it actually really helps them out if you wish list, because it helps them decide which languages to localize in. So this is actually something I hadn't previously thought of. I always emphasize adding games to your wish list because I know it really helps out the developers. But this is actually some great information to have, knowing that those wish lists can help them decide which languages to localize the game in. They can see where the demand actually is and what would be feasible for them, depending on what resources they have. So, with that being said, if there's a language that you would like to see Witchbrook supported in, that's even more reason to add the game to your wish list to kind of vote for that language. So that's awesome to know, and I wanted to share that with you guys. The next question asks if Witchbrook will receive a Nintendo Switch 2 edition specifically, and if so, will it make use of its unique features like the mouse controls? They also asked, what about physical versions? So the team shared that they're currently in the process of bringing Witchbrook to Nintendo Switch 2 and hope to share more news about how the game will make use of the new features in the future. So it does seem like they are going to be doing something with that. As for the physical versions, they said that they're still looking into physicals, but everyone on the team are big believers in physical products, so they hope that they can make it happen. They did go on to say, cartridge production is sadly quite expensive, especially for indies when the base rate of a game is cheaper to begin with, so they don't have details yet, but a game on a card would be their ideal option if possible. I've definitely said this before, I will say it again, I am a huge fan of physical media. I would absolutely love to see a Nintendo Switch 2 edition with the game fully on the card, not a key card, game on the cartridge. I would absolutely be purchasing a copy of this, minimum one, to support this decision if they were able to make it happen. And, I know many of you would as well. So fingers crossed for that. I am really happy to hear that the team are also, big believers in physical products like me. So that's, great news. And of course, a bunch of people asked if there's any update on a release date. Obviously, if they had an update on a release date, they would share that with us and they would make it very obvious. But, it doesn't hurt to just readdress here in this video that they don't have anything to announce just yet. They did share, though, that they want to let us know as soon as they're 100% confident in the release date. And they did also go on to say that they actually do have a window in mind, but they just want to be sure that when they reveal a date again, it's something they can be absolutely confident about. And honestly, that is the best decision they could make, because the last thing any of us want is for them to feel pressured into announcing a new window or a new date, and then they have to push that back again, right? Like, none of us want that. So I think it's definitely best to wait until maybe they're even mostly done the game, right? And maybe just working on some polishing and bug fixing and final touches before they actually announce that release date. We've been waiting. We'll continue to wait. Now, I did just want to throw in a few extra fun facts here that I grabbed from all the different questions and answers. One of them being that you can actually decorate for the holidays. So this kind of confirms that we're going to have access to some festive furniture and decorations for our cottage. At least that's my interpretation of this little fun fact. The next fun fact is that there are actually some really good and hard to get rewards that will take a lot of time to earn. And as I was saying earlier in this video, that is music to my ears, because that's what I want. I want some good, difficult to get exclusive rewards that, take some time to earn. I love that. So love hearing that. They also shared that there are lots of hats to choose from for your character to wear. Again, more music to my ears because you guys know I love character customization. I love the fits, I love the fashion, I love the accessories. So this is absolutely great. And maybe best of all for me personally, they actually said that they are looking into releasing a PlayStation version. So this isn't like confirmed or anything, of course, but they're looking into it. That's all I need to hear to keep my hope alive. I absolutely would adore to see a PS5 version for this game. Again, if they wanted to do even better and get a physical version of it, I would buy the Nintendo Switch 2 edition and the PlayStation 5 version physical, for sure. So yeah, I would love to see it on PS5. I know many of you would as well. So super happy to hear that they're at least looking into it, and hopefully the stars will align for something there. So there you have it, friends. That was a ton of new information directly from the team behind Witchbrook. I hope you enjoyed this little peek into what's going on behind the scenes and maybe got some of your questions answered. Maybe you have more questions now, like me. That's totally natural. I feel like that's what happens. We get some questions answered and then we have even more, but all in good time. And if all goes well, we'll be actually playing the game sometime later this year. So as always, please feel free to share your thoughts with me down in the comments. Anything and everything. You know, I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. And until next time, take care.